With that being said, let's jump into our first segment of the day with Joe Rogan, host of the Joe Rogan Experience, said during a recent show that he believes that the upcoming midterm elections are going to be a bloodbath for Democrats. Now, folks, if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, please do so now. But it's interesting because many, many months ago, we talked about here on the Bald Brad Show how there's going to be a red tsunami. And we were all stoked about it and all uppity about it. And then a few months went by and we looked at the poll numbers again and go, oh, shoot, we had an OSHIT moment because it wasn't going to be as much as a tsunami as we thought. We'd only pick up maybe 1, maybe 2 Senate seats. We still thought we would pick up a good handful of House seats, but not as much as we thought months prior. Now, many months go by again, and now we're talking about a massive red tsunami. And I mean massive because for every, I think it's 8 to 9 new Republicans, there's only 1 new Democrat. So you have the Democrat Party just freaking out. Chuck Schumer was on Hot Mic the other day with Joe Biden saying they're about to be shellacked. Things aren't looking good for him. Well, you got Joe Rogan talking about this on his podcast with a comedian here. Rogan made the remarks while speaking to comedian Bridget Phetasy, I think her last name is, about the culture of fear that exists in America where people don't feel like they can voice their opinions without facing backlash. We've talked about this at length on the Bald Brad Show. There's a lot of truth to this because you don't have to look any further than the average conservative or Republican or heck, an independent getting removed off Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I mean, the social media platforms are just shellacking conservatives. You've had Steven Crowder be banned with a strike on YouTube. Savannah Hernandez of Sav Says on YouTube, who's a Turning Point USA contributor ambassador. She's had 2 videos taken down in the last week with over 600,000 views on each. She's been banned on Twitter. She's on Instagram. That's the only way she can get her message across now. She's just completely getting shellacked by social media. You've had me, who I believe being shadow banned, and we covered the data of all of that on the Bald Brad Show here just the other day. You have Jordan B. Peterson being banned on Twitter for saying a biological male is in fact a male. You had the same thing happen to Charlie Kirk. You had the same thing happen to the Babylon Bee. You had the same thing happen to the editor-in-chief of the Federalist. I mean, the list literally goes on and on and on with conservatives, Republicans being banned, censored on YouTube. And the left still come out going, oh, you're just being a baby. Oh, you can still get your voice out. You can still be heard. Whatever. I can't wait till Elon Musk just shows all the data out there of all the censorship that's been happening to Republicans, all the throttling that's been happening to conservatives, all the banning and just all the stuff. I can't wait till it gets exposed out there in the light. Well, Rogan made the remarks after Phetasy said that she believes that a lot of people who buy into the transgender movement do so to signal that they are a part of the high status in-group. I mean, you've had a massive increase, mostly of actually females converting to male status, more than ever. Before, it used to affect primarily males wanting to convert to females. You've had a massive uptick in females. Yeah, it's strange, Rogan said. It's real strange to just openly accept all this stuff without any pushback. And we do have a video clip here in one moment, folks. Cool. I think there will be pushback, though. Again, I think we're seeing it in Europe, Phetasy said. And they were like the leaders of this kind of movement. And now it seems like they're coming to their senses a little bit and following science. I don't necessarily see that, although we might see it in the midterms. You know, like again, people tend to voice their opinion on these things at the ballot when they don't have to voice their opinion. Meaning they're doing it behind the scenes. And we kind of saw this a little bit in the 2016 election with Trump, where the polls were way off. I mean, Hillary thought this was just going to be a shoo-in. And then, of course, she ends up losing and the polls were completely wrong. Come when you had the elections with Joe Biden v. Trump, the polls were wrong once again. And then you have Joe Biden initiating and win because the polls were so off. You have Joe Rogan saying, and there are a lot of people there that are afraid of talking about it. Well, yeah, because you don't want to lose your job. You don't want to be called a racist, a sexist, bigot, homophobe, all these things. You don't want to be deplatformed. You don't want to be banned. You don't want to handle the consequences for just having an opinion that goes against the narrative of somebody else. Well, here's the clip from the Rogan Experience with the comedian as well as Joe Rogan.
The red wave that's coming is going to be like the elevator doors opening up in The Shining. That's what I think. I think people are just like, what the fuck are you saying? They're making Republicans.
I don't know how they're doing it. I had a family member.
She'll get into her family member in a moment, and I promise we'll continue. I know how they're doing it because they're running the country into the ground, and the average American can see it. Again, we'll continue in one moment here, but let's talk about it because I can see why you have Democrats coming to the Republican side of the aisle. Democrats have all 3 branches of government, and they suck at their job. Look at what they're doing. I mean, hell, you're paying 30% plus increase in energy. You're paying up the wazoo for gas prices at the pump. You're paying more for the grocery bill at the grocery store. I mean, it's thing after thing with the Democrat Party. You have massive immigration. You have Russia invading Ukraine. You have China wanting to invade Taiwan. You have Iran wanting to build nuclear warheads. You have North Korea wanting to build nuclear warheads. Our foreign policy sucks. I mean, the average American can really see through all the BS that the Biden administration is trying to push out there. They're pushing this woke ideology. They're pushing transgenderism. They're wanting to castrate your children. The Biden administration's all for it. Just had a transgender person at the White House, and Biden himself confirmed what they put out in a PR statement just many months before about wanting to give them hormone blockers, puberty blockers, hormone enhancers, take off their breast, remove their genitals, all these things they're all for. So it makes total sense why Americans aren't for this and why they're coming to the Republican Party, because they have their senses in tune and they finally waking up to all the craziness that's being done by the Democrat Party. And they're blaming Republicans for all of it when, again, they have all three branches of government. They don't need the Republicans' help, but somehow it's all our fault. Let's continue.
Who's a boomer and a diehard liberal. And they told me when I was home this summer that they would vote for DeSantis. And I'm like, how did you lose this person?
Yeah.
How did you lose this person? This is a like, go to the ballot and vote blue no matter what. And you've lost even the boomers.
The red wave that's coming.
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me. What surprises me a little bit more is you have some of the progressive left actually waking up on this stuff and looking and going, man, this guy sucks. I mean, just look at the way that he handles his teleprompter. He fights with it all the time. It's right there with him. I get that people try to think about the things that they're about to say. It happens to us here on the Bald Brad Show where you fumble your words, you maybe misquote or missay something. For example, I said 2 billion illegal immigrants when I meant 2 million. Thank God there's avid listeners on the Bald Brad Show that sit there and go, hey, the guy meant 2 million. He's usually spot on with his words, clearly talking and speaking too fast, jumping ahead. It happens. I get it. I get people fumbling every now and then. Way different than Biden. Biden slurs his words. He says the wrong thing all the time. His calculations are always wrong. He makes up stories, has been making up stories forever. Hits a golf ball backwards, falls up a flight of stairs. Literally, his own White House admin are afraid that he's going to trip over a camera cable, you guys, and break a hip, and there goes the president. That's not a joke. Literally, everybody's freaking out over it. There's a reason why he hasn't done a press conference in the same briefing room that Karine Jean-Pierre does her press conferences. I've never seen it, and I've been asking for months, has anybody seen a video clip of that guy standing on the podium since he's been president, answering unvetted questions from the press? Or he has to sit there and get vetted questions, right? He knows which reporter he's going to ask or talk to. He knows what the question is beforehand. Probably somebody talking in his earpiece. There's been reports of Joe Biden giving Joe Biden actual drugs to sit there and make him somewhat cognizant and sentient. I mean, it's thing after thing where people are looking at it and go, this is not good. Who the hell is the Democrat Party anymore? And I've said the reason why I started talking about the Democrat Party and the progressive left at the same time is because they are coming so close together. It is ridiculous. You have Black Lives Matter part of the Democrat Party virtually. You have Antifa, who Democrats still think is just an ideology, that they're not an actual group. It's just all fictitious. It's all conspiracy theory. It's all made up. I mean, they are coming more and more into the progressive left side of the aisle than the Republican Party or conservatives are coming into the far left side. But that's the narrative they want to push. It's all our fault. We're extremists. We're a threat to democracy. Look at January 6th. Oh, all Republicans are all for January 6th. Which, again, I know I'm repeating myself for those that watch the Bald Brad Show all the time. We are not for January 6th. So if there's any progressive left Democrat Party members that actually listen through a whole episode rather than 10 seconds, we don't like January 6th here on the Bald Brad Show. They're a bunch of idiots that stormed the Capitol. Idiots that went inside, okay? We can only be so clear. I don't even think they hold Republican and conservative values if they're willing to do those things, because we hold traditional and moral values here on the conservative side of the aisle. But I digress with that whole thing, because I'm going to be freaking rambling like no other. But it makes sense to me, again, why the Democrat Party is moving over into the Republican side of the aisle, because there's those that are actually centrist, that are in the middle, the independents, that are switching over going, man, DeSantis would run this country better. Republicans would run this country better, which speaks of something, because they all thought that we were idiots before, right? So if they think that idiots could run the country better, what does that make Joe Biden, the White House, and the rest of the freaking Democrat Party? Because boy, oh boy, are they about to be shellacked like no other. And if you recall, they all see it coming. Nancy Pelosi knows it's coming. Chuck Schumer literally was caught on a hot mic telling Joe Biden, trying to at least give him some sort of information really slow, like, hey, Joe, we're about to get shellacked, buddy, okay? Wake up, Joe. You're about to get lit up at the polls because you suck at your job, but you're going to blame Republicans for everything. You're running the country, Joe. Stop with the nap time. Wake up a little bit. Work with Congress here on actually getting stuff passed through. I don't know, maybe increasing domestic oil production. Maybe that'd be a good start. No, but we don't. You want to know what Joe Biden wants to do? He wants to tax the oil companies, to tax their profits. Where do you think that gets passed down to? Where do you think the taxes gets passed down to, folks? You and I. But he's going to increase taxes. These guys are idiots. Gavin Newsom of California literally wants to give people gas cards to help curb inflation based on the rising gas prices that were initiated virtually through the Biden administration because they don't want to increase domestic oil production. The Saudis just screwed them over, right, with the 2 billion barrels of oil less a day. You have them wanting to go to a dictatorship in Venezuela to get oil from them. Rather than just being self-sufficient in oil and energy here, they want to go to other places. So let that one sink in. Doesn't shock me that finally we got Democrats waking up, coming over to the dark side. Join us. Come to the dark side. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.